All right. So let's see. The last time we had a data meeting, we talked about students not answering the prompt because they weren't breaking it down. Way more students addressed the prompt this time. So what key steps have you taken and are you taking to lead to that success?
They break down every single prompt, usually as the do now. And I check their breakdowns of the prompt. I make sure they have all the parts, and if they don't have it, I don't make them move on, because they have to break down the prompt or they won't be successful writing the essays and planning the essays in such a short amount of time.
Nice, great. So we're going to narrow the focus. We're going to zoom in particularly on this evidence part. And so what do students need to know? And you wrote this on your pre-work too, so you, I saw you have a copy with you too. What do students need to know and demonstrate to get all 4 points for mastery for evidence and commentary?
Okay. So for the evidence and commentary, they have to know what is specific and like what is not considered specific evidence. They need to know whether or not their evidence like relates to each other, like if it extends the line of reasoning, because I'm pretty sure on the rubric it says that the evidence has to extend the line of reasoning. And then it obviously is to prove their thesis, and they have to explain how it proves their thesis.
Great. One thing I didn't see in your pre-work or hear you name just now, there's some really great language on the rubric right here. This right here. What does that, it says organize and support an argument as a line of reasoning composed of multiple supporting claims, each with adequate evidence that is clearly explained. What does that add to what you have so far? How does that add to?
Yeah, so that's definitely like the structure piece, and I think that was really good to point out too, because kids like Kenneth will write great evidence, but they'll put it in a giant block of text, and he's not organizing and supporting it with multiple claims, and then each claim gets supported, so that is definitely something we have to make sure we're
Great, so go ahead and add to your list. The key thing I'm want to double down on there is that there's multiple supporting claims, and they're all, and their evidence and the claims are all tying back to that thesis.
Getting closer.
Hey, we are. It's exciting.
It is. I noticed most students had like one element of it. Either they had good evidence or they had like some decent explanations, but it's adding it all together.
Alright, so I printed off the exemplar. Thank you for sending me that today. From the College Board. I know it's going to take you a minute to read this, but I want you to read through this, and particularly I want you to zoom in on how does this exemplar demonstrate mastery of having multiple supporting claims with adequate evidence? So how is this showing multiple supporting claims with adequate evidence? And that's yours to keep, so mark it up however is helpful.
Thank you. is way more sophisticated than
Talk to me specifically about
I wouldn't have written this.
how did you see multiple claims with adequate evidence?
So I don't think that they gave adequate evidence at all in the first half, because I don't think they do. I don't see any evidence.
Let's focus on the supporting claims, though. So what are the supporting claims?
So they have multiple claims in each paragraph. Their thesis is, I believe that although Paine's assertion of diversity and the importance of the rights of man holds true today, that they continue to bring unison is no longer accurate. And so then they give a claim about America being an immigrant society. Then they give a claim that in the 1700s and 1800s, immigrants shared cultures, but today immigrants don't share cultures. Then they have a claim that in these cases, like the government no longer serves as serves to bind together the American people because of different cultures, which they don't prove, which is fine. But then they say another claim that another crucial issue is political parties tearing people apart, and then they give a bunch of evidence about that. Then they've got a claim saying the arguments surrounding what the government can and should do eludes his characterization of America.
But they do have multiple claims, to go back to this. So they
Right,
are meeting this correct, you have multiple claims. And do they tie back to their thesis? In general? I would say yes, they do.
I guess.
Tell me more about why you're thinking they don't.
I don't see it. I think it's a strong essay. But this was definitely before that rubric existed. Years before that rubric existed.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I chose that sample though is because he does make a comment about the extent to which. I forgot that was a different year, different group. Okay. He makes a claim about the extent to which, and he has several supporting claims. Whether they followed this exact
It's definitely a 9. On that scale, it's definitely a 9.
Okay. That makes sense. Now I see what the train of thought is. Great. Okay, so let's look at Elijah's.
Yes.
And you kind of already named this as you were walking in the room. What's the gap between Elijah's evidence and commentary and the exemplar?
This evidence and commentary is significantly more specific.
Mm-hmm.
Hers is mostly generalizations.
Correct. And do those generalizations tie back to her thesis in any way?
No.
All right.
No.
Great. So take a look at Alnisa's. I think it's right before it. I slipped on my fingernails last night. I'm struggling. Does she have multiple claims?
It's not.
And do they tie back to the thesis?
Yeah, because she addresses the first point in her thesis, and then she addresses the second point in her thesis. This is a lot closer to what I would want to see.
But I guess for her, though, do you see the evidence there?
I see mostly generalizations.
Right.
I don't see the specific evidence.
Great. So students are, what is the gap then you see across, if you had to say in one statement, students are not doing X because they're not doing Y, what would you say between Elijah and Alnisa, if you had to pick the one?
Between Elijah and Alnisa, they are not developing their thesis with multiple supporting claims and evidence,
Great. So that works. I also worded it as students are not writing body paragraphs. I focused on the body paragraph piece to support their thesis. Because they are not using their thesis to identify topics for their paragraphs. So I think we're saying, I'm talking more about the process and you were talking more about the product. They're the same thing.
Yeah, so maybe we can add a step to the prompt breakdown where they...
I have an idea for that. Well, Jeremy has an idea for that. So can you read back what you have down as the gap statement?
Yes, not writing body paragraphs to support their thesis.
Because, why?
Because they are not identifying reasons to support their thesis.
Yep. Once they make their thesis statement, they can use it as a tool to determine, okay, here's my thesis, what are my, supporting claims? So, I'll let you get that down. I have a little organizer that Esposito did. I cannot take credit for this. I'm going to walk you through kind of what he was envisioning and give you some time to script out, and then we'll practice it a little bit.
Okay.
So students were better with making their thesis statements, but I would say they still definitely need some reps at it. I'm envisioning like a 2-part reteach.
Okay.
So the first part, really zoom in on defensible thesis and evaluate the extent. This is a prompt that they see across like different content areas, like in social studies, stuff like that, evaluate the extent to which, and so like doubling down on that extent, and there needs to be some commentary on that. I think show call an exemplar, what's effective, and go over that, and then just give them 3 quick ones to revise.
Okay.
So you can pick any 3 that you didn't give that point for the thesis and have them revise it. And it should be pretty easy because I noticed on here, this is awesome how you did this. You'll be able to say like, okay, who got the zeros? And then part 2, this is the meat of it, right? So this is just kind of address like a gap. We know it's not all the way there yet. This is the meat of it. Since we're evaluating the extent, some kind of graphic organizer in which they're like making a supporting claim about, okay, how much is it true? What's true, and what evidence do I have for that? Okay, how is it not true? What's not true? And then what's the evidence for that? If you model for them how to do one piece of this, they should be able to do that for their next 2 supporting claims.
Okay, perfect.
How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Great. Why don't you take, let's see, probably take you 10 minutes. Take 10 minutes and try to script out what this might look like.
Okay. I'm going to take a picture.
You can have this.
Okay.
I'll take a picture, you can have it.
The only thing that makes me nervous is the kids who went like all the way and they were like this is completely true or this is completely not true. Which is a lot of kids who said it's completely not true. So maybe if it's completely true, there's probably going to be more than one way that it's true. Yep. So then they'll just have to.
So these are their body paragraphs. Like, this is the claim 1, why it's true. Claim 2, why it's true. Ideally, I want them writing more complex argumentation. And so hopefully they are making qualified arguments, but I know that we're still in process with that. But for the extent of like this practice and this graphic organizer, that skill of thinking about like how to organize the argument, I think it would be good for them, even if their claim says one way or the other, to practice doing the counter.
That sounds good. They loved knowing what number they got. They all wanted to know what number they got.
That's awesome. That's great. Destin does do this. Organize and support with the multiple. So happy about that. That's awesome.
did you word the question that you said to me about, like if I was to present like Destin's FRQ and what did I ask? Do I ask what is effective, or do I ask what is effective about, because I want to give them the language of the rubric.
Oh, the question I asked when I had you look. Let me go
Yeah.
back. It's been a while since I had my coffee. I asked you, how does this exemplar demonstrate mastery of multiple supporting claims with adequate evidence?
Thank you.
Mastery of using or something like that would be a way better word, probably.
Sorry, that was a terrible
No,
question.
it's okay. I wrote it terribly too, so here we are. Okay, how much do you have done so far?
I've got the setup for it, and then I was just gonna make.
Oh, cool. Okay, take 2 more minutes then. I want to get to do a little bit of practice before you go. It's already been 27 minutes, so I just want to make sure. No, you're good. It's great that your worksheet's almost done. I took too long on the beginning stuff. That was me.
I do not have the most like spatial graphic organizer brains.
I mean, next time you can just also do a big piece of blank paper and draw it for them and say, okay, you're going to fill these boxes in.
Oh no, just like conceptualizing a graphic organizer.
Oh.
That's what my brain doesn't. For some reason, I'm not talented in that way. This is helpful because it's very helps them see like the extent to which they have difficulty. This is probably what I should have done. Okay. I think I am ready.
Great. All right, so let's take it live.
Okay.
Talk me through how you're able to say it out loud with the kiddo tomorrow.
Okay.
Is it tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. Unfortunately, I have a phone call, but okay. Talk me through it.
Yesterday you went through your FRQ to label your evidence. Today, your job is to revise your argument and make improvements in line with the scoring guide. The scoring guide states that students must, and I'll put it up there, students must organize and support an argument as a line of reasoning composed of multiple supporting claims, each with adequate evidence that is clearly explained in order to score a 4 on this section of the rubric. And then they'll also have the exemplar, which I'll print out for them. Zooming into the exemplar, which you should feel free to mark up, how does this exemplar demonstrate mastery of this skill? And I'll point to the rubric, which will be up there. Using multiple supporting claims and evidence in support of the thesis. Take 3 minutes, silent and solo, to answer this question. So I'll give them that time, have them turn and talk, then medium, high, low, student. And then I'll say, great, we're going to revise our work so that we can have multiple body paragraphs with distinct claims in support of our thesis. And then I'll put this up also.
Great. The part I want you to model, though, is how to do that first one.
How to do this?
Yes.
Okay. So like taking Dustin's maybe and putting it in there, or?
Sure, that would work.
Okay.
That would work.
Okay.
And say, so if we're using Dustin's, for example, then it would be, it would have been filled out for Dustin's.
Okay. If I made like this into a digital thing, could they copy and paste theirs into it and like add
You
to
could
it?
do like a, instead of, this is real fancy, and I know you took a long time on it, but you could just do a table with columns.
That would work.
Yeah, this could be like a table with 3 columns.
Okay.
Or 4 columns, if you're giving them the example for Dustin and then having them do 3 on their own. And they should be doing at least 2 on their own, but this one should be like, if you're modeling with Dustin's paper, totally fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Awesome.
When are you doing this part, where they're revising 3 thesis statements?
I can do that during another class, but I was concerned about the
Timing.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, sounds good to me. Now, I want to start getting the habit of videoing your reteachers. Unfortunately, I can't tomorrow because I have a phone call at the exact same time. But just to name it, that is something I really want to do.
I can have Naija video if you want.
Oh, that's great. That would be awesome if you have Naija video. I'll give you this after we're done, or I'll give it to you after school. That'd be awesome.
Perfect.
Thanks.
She would love to do that. She loves to help.
She does. She really does. The one thing I would like is, after you do this, updated mastery specifically on this. Like on their, after they revised it, I want to know, like, what's the % mastery of using evidence and commentary.
Awesome.
When do you think is realistic to give me updated evidence? I know they take a while.
Yes. Probably end of the week.
That's fine. Totally fine.
Right.
Yep. Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna